Welcome back to the channel. Today's story is titled Boy Varnished in the Woods. 10 years later, his voice echoes through a baby monitor. It is an unsolved mystery that will leave you questioning reality itself. The year was 2004 when two young lovers embarked on a camping trip deep in the dense woods of Yuba County, California. Little did they know their romantic getaway would soon turn into a horrifying nightmare, one that would shatter their lives forever. Their names were Tim and Angie. They were madly in love. Camping was their thing, and this time they planned a weekend away from it all, far from the hustle and bustle of the city. As they pitched their tent under a canopy of stars, they felt a sense of tranquility wash over them. The crackling fire, the chirping crickets, and the comforting presence of each other created a bubble of bliss. But their peaceful retreat took a sinister turn when a sudden noise shattered the quiet night. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the trees, sending shivers down their spines. It was a sound that seemed to come from the depths of hell itself, a primal scream that tore at their very core. As they sat there frozen in fear, the forest around them transformed into a menacing presence. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig became a source of terror. The couple clung to each other, finding solace in their shared fear. Then another scream pierced the darkness. It was closer this time, as if something was stalking them, toying with their terror. They had to get out of there. Adrenaline surged through their veins. They packed their things in a frenzy, their hands shaking, their breath shallow. As they stumbled out of the campsite, the darkness seemed to press in on them, suffocating them with its own evil. They didn't dare look back. They just ran. The image of the tent in the flickering firelight burned into their minds. In the safety of their car, they locked the doors, their bodies trembling. The engine roared to life, and they sped away, leaving the campsite behind in a rush. Safe in their car, they dared not speak, the silence deafening. They drove for what felt like hours, the forest shrinking in their rearview mirror. Finally, as the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, they reached a familiar road. Relief washed over them as they recognized their surroundings. They had escaped the clutches of the menacing woods. Back home, safe in the comfort of their own space, they tried to piece their lives back together. But the experience had left an indelible mark on their souls. The memory of that terrifying night, the blood-curdling screams still ringing in their ears, haunted their waking moments and invaded their dreams. Every shadow seemed to hold the lurking presence of the woods. Even the daytime failed to chase away the chill that had seeped into their bones. Years passed, but the trauma of that camping trip continued to cast its long shadow over their lives. The simple joys that once brought them happiness now seemed distant and unattainable. They were prisoners in their own lives, held captive by the horrors of that fateful night. Then came a ray of hope when a young girl was born into their lives, bringing with her the promise of new beginnings. They poured all their love and hopes into this child, hoping she would bring sunshine back into their lives. They named her Emily. She was their little miracle. They doted on her, shielding her from any pain or fear, determined to create a world of joy for her. They believed she was their redemption, the reason to go on. But the woods had other plans. When Emily turned 3, her parents noticed something disturbing. She would have these episodes, moments when she would freeze, her eyes wide and staring, as if she were seeing something they couldn't. And then she would scream, the same blood-curdling scream that had echoed in the woods. These episodes became more frequent, more intense, terrifying them and little Emily. They tried everything, therapy, medication, but nothing seemed to help. Emily remained trapped in a world they couldn't reach. One day, while watching Emily during one of her episodes, her parents heard a voice. It wasn't their voices or anyone they knew. It was a child's voice, small yet clear, echoing through the room as if coming from within Emily. The voice spoke of a dark, scary place, of being lost and alone. It spoke of a terrible accident and a plea for help. As the voice faded away, so did Emily's blank stare. She looked at them with confusion, as if emerging from a deep slumber. They were horrified, unsure if they'd imagined it or if their worst fears were coming true. Determined to find answers, they took Emily back to the woods, to the very spot where they had fled 10 years ago. There, in the eerie silence of the forest, they felt a presence, a dark, heavy presence that seemed to be watching them. As they stood there, the unthinkable happened. Emily suddenly collapsed to her knees, her body trembling. And once again, that chilling voice echoed, this time right there in the woods. It led them to an old, gnarled tree. Underneath it, hidden among the roots, they found something that sent a jolt of fear through them. It was a children's shoe, tiny and abandoned. Holding the shoe, they were struck by a horrifying realization. Was Emily somehow connected to this place? Were the woods reaching out for her, pulling her into their dark embrace? They rushed her home, their hearts heavy with worry. Back home, they sought help from specialists, but no one could explain what was happening to Emily. She remained their greatest fear. Her condition worsened. She started sleepwalking, wandering into the garden at night, calling out into the darkness as if searching for something. They moved into a new house. They hoped the change of scenery would help, but the woods seemed to follow them. Emily's episodes continued, more intense, more disturbing. One night, they heard her voice coming from her room. It was faint, yet filled with urgency. She was crying out for help, for them to listen. They rushed to her side, their hearts pounding. In the dim glow of the night light, they saw something that made their blood run cold. Emily was sitting up in bed, her eyes wide and vacant, as if someone or something was sitting right next to her. And then, as quickly as it had started, it was over. Emily was back in her bed, sleeping peacefully. Shaken to their core, they wondered if they were losing their minds. They loved Emily more than anything. They wanted to protect her. But what could they do? How could they help her when they didn't understand what was happening? Then they remembered the voice that seemed to come from another time, another place. Could it hold the key to Emily's torment? They started recording the voice, hoping to capture it, to make sense of it. One night, they recorded something extraordinary. It was a conversation between two people. They were discussing an accident, a terrible accident that had happened in the woods. And then they heard the most chilling line. He vanished, just vanished into thin air. We looked everywhere, but there was no trace of him. The parents were shocked. Could it be a coincidence, or was Emily somehow connected to this mysterious boy who had vanished in the woods 10 years ago? Driven by a mix of fear and determination, they decided to investigate further. They delved into local records, searching for any information about the missing child. After days of searching, they found a lead. There was a report of a missing child from 10 years ago, a boy who had been camping with his family near the spot where they had encountered the ghost. As they dug deeper, they uncovered a disturbing similarity. The description of the boy matched Emily's age at the time of his disappearance. Was it possible? Could Emily be the reincarnation of this missing child? Or was there some other connection between them? They didn't have the answers, but they knew they had to act fast. They needed to find out the truth about the missing child, about Emily's connection to him. With newfound determination, they went back to the woods. This time, armed with the knowledge of the missing child's name and approximate age, they searched the area where he had vanished. Their hope was to find some trace of him, some clue that could shed light on Emily's condition. Among the trees, they found something. It was a baby monitor, old and covered in dirt. As they brushed off the dirt, they saw a name carved into it, a name that sent a chill down their spines. It was the same name as the missing child. As they held the baby monitor, they felt a surge of emotions, fear, sadness, but also a sense of hope that maybe, just maybe, they were getting closer to understanding the mystery that had been haunting them and their daughter. With trembling hands, they turned on the baby monitor. To their astonishment, they could hear a faint voice coming from it. It was a child's voice, and it seemed to be coming from inside their house. They followed the sound and found Emily in her room. She was standing next to her bed, seemingly talking to someone. Overcome with emotion, they rushed to her side. And what they heard next would change their lives forever. Emily was speaking in a voice that wasn't hers, a voice that belonged to the missing child. As the realization dawned on them, the parents were left speechless. The missing child, the one who had vanished 10 years ago, was in their house, possessing their daughter's body. Their world crumbled around them, leaving them to face a terrifying truth. The missing child had returned, but not in the way they had imagined. He was trapped in Emily's body, unable to move, unable to communicate except through Emily's occasional breakdowns. Was he trying to tell them something? What did he want them to know? What was his message from beyond the grave? Over the next few weeks, they recorded countless sessions of the child's voice, each session revealing more of his story. He told them about his life before he vanished, about his family, his friends, his dreams. He spoke of the accident, of the searing pain, and then nothing. He described how he felt, how he was stuck, how he needed help. And then one day, the recordings changed. Instead of the child's voice, they heard a different one. It was the voice of a man, a voice filled with menace, with a dark, sinister energy. The man spoke of power, of control, of how he was using Emily to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. He bragged about his hold on the child, about how he was feeding off his fear, his confusion. It was then that they realized they were in grave danger. They weren't just dealing with a supernatural occurrence. There was a malevolent force at play, a force that had a terrifying plan. The man's voice echoed in their home, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked around them. They knew they had to act fast. They had to break the connection between Emily and the missing child, sever the link that was allowing this entity to thrive. As the story reaches its climax, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will they be able to save Emily from the clutches of the entity? Or will the dark force consume her completely? Tune in next time to find out as we unravel the final chapters of this spine-chilling tale. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. Your support means everything to us. Don't forget to comment your thoughts and join us in our next video. Until then, stay safe and keep believing in the unbelievable.